Hey guys, in today's video we are going to be making some romantic, beautiful rose sugar scrub using real rose petals. And if you're curious as to how it will all come together, then keep watching because I will show you all of the steps and also give you a demo on this beautiful sugar scrub at the end of this video. This is a raw organic shea butter that I got from Baraka Impact, and if you're curious about this shea butter, I have a link to it down below. And to this we are going to add some melt and pour. And this is Stevenson's Crystal Melt and Pour Base. I've never made a sugar scrub like this before. We are experimenting a little bit on this channel. But I've heard for the longest time that you can add melted melt and pour to sugar scrub. It'll help stabilize it and give it some structure so that when you ship it in the mail, it won't deflate. Now my current sugar scrubs that I make without melt and pour are really stable and they're really great. They're perfect for shipping. But I wanted to give this a try just to see if I could feel the difference. Next, I'm gonna add a light oil, and in this case, I'm using a hemp seed oil, but you can use any light, fast-absorbing oil. I love hemp seed oil for its many skin benefits. It's just a really wonderful oil, and I've been using it for years. It's really my preference whenever I have to reach for a light, fast-absorbing oil. So I'm going to take these ingredients and melt them down, and then I'll come back when we move on to the next step. So while those ingredients are melting down, I'm going to prepare the rest of the sugar scrub ingredients. For this part, I'm only going to be using sugar, the whipped soap base, and also the fragrance oil. So for this recipe, I'm using foaming bath base. And I make my own foaming bath base because it's pretty easy to do from your own home. The ingredients are pretty simple. You just bring them together, melt them down, and then you get foaming bath base. But you can buy this pre-made in most soap suppliers. And I'm just scooping this stuff into my KitchenAid mixing bowl because we're gonna be whipping these scrubs up. And this scrub is going to be a part of my limited edition February Self-Care of the Month series. I did a soap and a bath bomb last month in January, and in February, we're gonna do a soap, a bath bomb, and a sugar scrub. And now to this, we're gonna add some sugar. So now that I have the sugar all measured out into the bowl, now I'm going to add a little bit of pink mica. And I don't wanna add too much. I just want it to be the lightest of pink colors because I wanna give a delicate rose vibe. So I'm just gonna add just a little bit of pink, and it's always best to start with a little when you're coloring your sugar scrub and then work your way up. For the fragrance of this rose sugar scrub, I'm using Bramble Berry's Rose Gold fragrance oil, and I really don't like how their labels start to eat away if they touch any fragrance oil, but it smells so good. I made soap with Rose Gold last year or 2 years ago, and it was a huge hit. And I'm using it all up, as you can see. So now that we have all of those ingredients, I'm gonna start whipping it up. So here we are at the KitchenAid mixer. I'm gonna use the paddle attachment to whip up the sugar scrub. And we're gonna start to whip it up to soften that foaming bath butter base that we have in there. And we're gonna slowly ramp up the speed at which we're whipping it up. And you can see the really pretty soft pink color that we've gotten from just adding the littlest bit of mica. Now for both aesthetics and a little bit of scrub factor, I'm gonna add a little bit of rose petals, and we're gonna add 2 tablespoons. This is gonna be such a pretty scrub. And then we're gonna start mixing up again. Now the scrub with just the foaming bath base and the sugar makes for a beautiful soft scrub. You can see the texture is really nice already. And what the shea butter will do is add a moisturizing element to the sugar scrub and will give it some body. But you can make a really great sugar scrub just using sugar and the foaming bath base. So here we have the melted shea butter and melt and pour soap and hemp seed oil. What we're gonna do now is slowly add it to the sugar scrub, a little bit at a time in a thin trail. So the shea butter and hemp seed oil have yellowed the scrub a little bit, so I'm just gonna try to get it back to that pretty pink color by adding a little bit more mica. There we go. I'm just gonna scrape down the sides because I really want that melt and pour and shea butter incorporated so we don't get any big chunks of either. So the true color is not reflecting in the camera here, but it has gone back to a nice soft pink. And now we're ready to move on to the next stage. So here's the sugar scrub. And right now it's a really soft, kind of runny texture. And that's because the shea butter and the melt and pour soap are still liquid. But as we know, both are solid at room temperature. So what you could do is wait for the sugar scrub to cool down a little bit. And then you can whip it up to get a really fluffy texture, or you can jar the sugar scrub now, which is what I'm going to do. Because I don't want to over whip the sugar scrubs. I want them to ship nicely, and sometimes you can run into that issue with over whipping. You can get deflation, you can get scrubs that arrive in jars that look half full, and that's not a really great customer experience. Oh, and this rose gold scent by Bramble Berry is so nice. It doesn't really smell like roses, but it kind of has that soft feminine vibe. It's hard to describe. I've never smelled anything like it. All I know is that it smells really, really good. Definitely has like a garden, like a tea party, like a garden tea party type of feel to it. It is actually starting to feel stiffer as we speak. So here's a closer look at the sugar scrub. And it's starting to get stiffer the longer I let it sit. And I don't think it requires much more whipping than this. This is so nice, just as is. But to get to the final texture of a sugar scrub, you'll want to wait a few days because it can change on you. So let's get this beautiful sugar scrub into some jars. For those wondering what kind of sugar scrub this isn't actually an emulsified sugar scrub because we don't have any emulsifiers in the scrub. I would categorize it as a foaming sugar scrub because you have the foam from the whipped foaming bath base, and you have the bubbles that you're going to get from the melt and pour soap. And it's funny how many uses melt and pour soap can have. You can make so many different things with it, not just soaps. You can make icing with it. You can add it to sugar scrubs like this to add some body and bubbles. This texture is really nice. I'm curious to see how it's going to set up over the next couple days. So I'm going to be piping the sugar scrubs into some jars here. And these are 8-ounce PET jars. Here's my bag of scrub. Gotta cut the tip off. And with sugar scrub, I really like a wide tip because it can be quite difficult to squeeze that scrub through the end of the piping bag. So the wider, the easier I've found. One of the projects that I have coming up is my very first hot process soap. And I'm gonna be rolling along with the rose theme and using a rose fragrance oil, which are notoriously finicky to work with. Most rose fragrance oils that I've worked with have seized up my batter so fast. Some of the fastest seizing I've ever seen, which is quite impressive to experience if you're a soap maker. It could also be quite devastating depending on how hopeful you were. But the first time I seized up a rose soap, I was able to rebatch it through a hot process type method in a crock pot, and that saved it. So hot process is a good skill to have under your tool belt as a soap maker, because you can make beautiful soaps just using that method, or repurpose soaps that have had fragrances misbehave on you and have caused soap to seize up super fast. So here are the sugar scrubs so far, and I'm going to add a last little extra touch to finish off the tops. I'm just going to add the smallest sprinkle of red rose petals on the top. And one final extra touch. I'm gonna add the littlest bit of mica to add a nice sheen to the top. Now this is totally optional. It's something that I like to do and I've been doing more and more of with my products. And I think it just adds the perfect last bit of specialness. Now, of course, these tops are going to get smushed once the lid gets on them, but for marketing purposes, when you're taking pictures of these sugar scrubs, it just makes them stand out so much, and it just makes it that much more appealing to your customers to see this beautiful product. So here is the finished scrub, and isn't it absolutely gorgeous? Hello, it is a couple of days later and we are ready to demo the scrub. If you guys remember, there is melt and pour soap in here, as well as shea butter, both of which are pretty solid at room temperature. So I'm curious to see whether or not this scrub has kept its softness or if it's gonna be super chunky. So let's go ahead and see how it is. So we're in the bathroom now. And I just want to see how it looks when you scoop it. Okay, so it's pretty stiff. It's definitely not pillow soft anymore. Let's see how spreadable it is. This is what it's like as you smooth it over your hand. You don't get a ton of bubbles, but you do get this creamy softness. So I'll show you that again on a wider piece of skin. Here is the scrub, and it's not really super spreadable. You have to really work it into your skin. But once it's on there, it's on there. And it does feel quite nice. And you do get some bubbles. I bet under a running shower it will get a lot more foamy, but it feels really nice. So what are my final thoughts on the sugar scrub? In terms of spreadability, I don't think it's my favorite that I've made. I've definitely made creamier scrubs that spread a lot nicer on my skin, but because of the high amount of shea butter in this recipe, it really does feel a lot more moisturizing than the other scrubs that I've made. And because there's also melt and pour in the scrub, I feel like the foam and lather that you get is a little bit better than what I usually get. So you can see how different ingredients really affect how a sugar scrub applies, how it rinses off, and how it makes your skin feel. So you kind of have to test and see what you like. I did find that once the sugar scrub was on my skin, I was able to spread it and get a nice scrub going, which is good. That's the whole point of a sugar scrub. Although you might get a few more chunks that, as you're spreading it on your body, falling off and ending up on your shower floor. And look how beautiful this scrub turned out with its soft pink color and the rose petals. I know that Kale really likes a chunkier scrub, so I'm excited for him to give this one a try. Overall, I really like this scrub, and I'm really glad that I experimented with melt and pour soap because I was really curious to see what kind of texture adding that ingredient to a scrub would give it. If you want the recipe for these sugar scrubs, along with all of the steps and a blog post dedicated to the making of the scrub where I go a little bit more in depth into why I picked the ingredients and my methods, all of that, that is on my Patreon, which is linked down below. Speaking of my patrons, thank you to everybody who chooses to support me on there. You guys are amazing, especially these guys, my Bubble BFFs. You guys, your encouragement and messages and support means so much to me, and I just can't believe how lucky I am to have such a supportive, wonderful group of people that just want to see me succeed and who truly enjoy my content. But that is the video for today. If you want to see more fun February themed projects, then please subscribe. And until the next video, keep smiling, keep being awesome, and I will see you in that next video. Bye guys.